We are live, baby.
We are live with Wes McKinney. I'm going to tweet it out on Twitter, and then we're going to get going here. I'm very slow at social media.
It's great. I think, we're all, just
I act like I'm like an 87-year-old woman, but that is what I feel like. Okay. I think this is what the kids do, right?
What the children do now. The youths.
If there's I think there's a chat too. So if you do want to use the chat and you want to post a comment and you're with us, go for it. Otherwise, we're going to jump right in. Oh, there's the private chat, Wes. Okay, I'm figuring this out as we go.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Okay, so yeah, obviously we're doing the live recording that will be up on YouTube, and then the audio for this will be in your podcast feed for Peace, Love, and Baseball by tomorrow morning. So you can just tune in there. But this is episode 46, and we are going to talk about what everyone else is talking about, the trade deadline. We are 2/3 of the way through the regular season, and then we might even get Wes to catch up on some drama around the diamond with us and talk about, expectations and some fun things for the rest of the season. So good evening, and welcome to our first ever live stream episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball.
This is fun.
Yeah, welcome. I mean, what a time to be alive. What a time to go live. It is just over 1 hour post trade deadline for the 2023 MLB season. So we figured what a more timely time to come to you live and have a little chat about everything that is going on. But yeah, we've never done this before. So come along and we will navigate this newfound form of fun together live.
I'm so excited because not only was I the first guest ever of your podcast, but now I'm the first live
Hell
guest.
Yeah. And we're like almost actually a year from when that happened. So
you're right.
It's perfectly appropriate that you're back. So today we're also 2/3 of the way through the 2023 MLB regular season. So lots to cover as we go into like the last 50 or so games of the season here. Who's hot, who's not, who's going to really make a run for it, and who's going to set their sights on next year and maybe even beyond. But today I am joined by that friendly voice you hear, my good friend Wesley McKinney of Validity. He is a great baseball fan, and he's also a professional musician. So Wes, thanks so much for joining me today. Say hey, and let's start by letting the good folks know where they can listen to your latest release.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you once again for having me. I've been on the podcast several times now as a guest, as a little, opening day. We went together and we got to have that wonderful episode where we live podcast throughout the day.
But we still had hope for all that might be.
Oh man, we thought that we were absolutely winning the World Series that day, for like the first 9 innings, but after that.
And why not? We had just as much of a chance
as anybody else. You can follow me at WesMCK88 on Twitter, Instagram, Threads now, I guess. And I just released a new song called Need You to Stay. You should listen to it, especially if you like indie pop rock, musical theater. If you are into those genres, then you are going to love Need You to Stay. You can find it on Spotify, anywhere where music is being streamed. Any stream helps the algorithm and helps that song find some new listeners. So it's definitely appreciated. Hope you enjoy it. I had a great time making it, and I'm really happy that it's out now.
Yeah, and you can always find it in the show notes of our episodes because we'll put it there for you and make it very easily accessible. And yeah, so if you're joining us for the first time, if you can see us, you might already know, but here's what you should know. Wes and I are St. Louis Cardinals fans. So we are going to cover trades and details on all the teams throughout Major League Baseball today, but we are going to share a lot on the Cardinals moves and the happenings and like our fan experience with all of that. We are going to shoot to wrap up tonight right around 6:45 Central Time, just in time for the Cardinals and Twins game to get started. And I also want to take a second actually and call out 3 particular reporters that we are so lucky to follow and trust as Cardinals fans, because through the madness of the trade deadline for at least the last week and really beyond, and really the whole season, you see all kinds of crazy things pop up, and you never know exactly like what you can trust, what you can count on, like who's just in it for the clicks and who is really reporting something that you can trust and has that inside perspective. So our most trusted sources here as Cardinals fans are going to be Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Katie Wu of The Athletic, and Jeff Jones of the Belvedere Democrat. So big shout out to you, Derek, Katie, and Jeff. Thank you for all you do.
Derek is such a good guy. I got to meet him when we were in London.
Oh, yeah.
I shook his hand. Like, he's such a down-to-earth guy. He loved chatting with everybody that was there. So, Derek, thank you so much. Like, it was so fun to meet you.
Yeah, they're amazing to interact with on social media as well. So again, in the show notes, or probably in the comments after we stream here, I'll drop their Twitter handles. If you don't follow them, look them up, follow them on Twitter. They are your trusted sources for a lot of the information we're going to talk about today, but really just anything. If you're like, I don't know, like someone told me that Nolan Arenado is going to be traded, and this was like 2 hours ago, like just go check in with Katie Wu and let her tell you what's going on for real. Okay.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Anyway, the Cardinals are in a unique position this year as they were initially favored to win the division. But at this point in the season, they're in dead last place in the NL Central. They're currently 11 and a half games out of first place. They're 10 games back from the last wild card spot. The good news, I guess, is the upside is it does seem like Mo and co have finally admitted that their pitching philosophy is perhaps behind the times. They're saying that they are committed to, making some changes internally from the inside out, because it's not just at the major league level that there is an issue. It's like organizational wide philosophy that has not kept up with the pitching market or now the ever evolving game. And for the first time in recent memory, because of this, really, the Cardinals are coming into the trade deadline as sellers, at least to some extent, and looking to bolster their pitching system-wide and set them up to ultimately be more competitive in 2024 is the messaging that we're currently receiving, and certainly aligns with the moves that they made today and over the past few days. So, Wes, before we get into some specifics, how are you feeling overall about the Cardinals' action at the deadline this year?
I mean, it's exactly what we expected, right? Basically, everybody that you thought would be traded got traded. I'm a little. I think I see where they're going with what they got. They got a lot of infield prospects, which I think are just going to be trade pieces for the future to get more of the big name pitchers that we need. Not necessarily even big name, because Mo doesn't like a big name pitcher. He's going for a quality guy, like when we got Montgomery, or like we tend to go for guys like that just are going to be solid and not necessarily the Scherzers.
Yeah.
Or we're going to get somebody eventually who's going to make an impact. So I think these infield pieces, the prospects that we've gotten for all these guys, are going to help us out next year.
Yeah, and maybe even in the off season.
Hopefully in the off season, so that we can just start 2024 from a good
a different angle, at least.
Angle.
This one didn't work.
This one didn't work out too well.
Yeah, it seems so far from the moves made for Jordan Montgomery, Chris Stratton, Jack Flaherty, who just moments ago it seems ripped away from us, Jordan Hicks and Paul DeYoung, of course, they were all on expiring contracts, and it made sense since we are not utilizing them to, make a playoff run this season, that we would move them and try to get something in return for them, as opposed to, letting them walk at the end of the season. That at this point is not going to end much differently either way, like with or without them, as sad as it is to say and still trying to accept. But yeah, it seems like they started with that as something that just clearly made sense. And in return, we have kind of bolstered up more the minor league system than anything. And then in the off season is when the, one and two starting pitchers are going to have to be acquired, because that's going to take some trades as well as some free agency signings, I think. So we will see. Wes, are you still with us? Can you hear me?
I'm trying to be. I froze up there for a second, but we're good now.
Hopefully it's only one of us and not both of us. But yeah, it seems like while it's not all that exciting, it's not sexy, like it is a step at least somewhat in the right direction. And they were one of the busier teams this trade deadline. So better to see something happening than nothing. So let's just hit up these headline Cardinal trades quick before we go around the league and talk about some other teams that definitely made some really interesting moves. So on July 30th, the Texas Rangers acquired our left-handed pitcher Jordan Montgomery, as well as right-handed reliever Chris Stratton. And in return, we got a shortstop or utility guy, Thomas Sagasi, right-handed pitcher Takoa Robbie, I'm not sure. I might be saying these wrong. We're all going to learn together.
We're all learning.
And left-handed pitcher John King, who has slotted, I believe, right into our bullpen. He might be on the active roster already as we are speaking. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize that Texas had actually just put Nathan Eovaldi, who is one of my favorite pitchers right now. He's on the injured list with a forearm injury. So absolutely makes sense that a guy like Jordan Montgomery is going to slide in and help them out and fill out their rotation and give them some guaranteed depth there, as they are absolutely in a position to make a run for it. And then as we were talking about before we started recording, Wes and I noticed that Roby or Robbie, I'm going to say Roby because I feel like that's it, but don't hold me to it. And Sagasi are the number 11 and number 14 prospects in the Rangers system, which is, I think, objectively like a better rated farm system than the Cardinals right now. So they will likely be even higher in the Cardinals system. And then King has a 4.27 ERA. He has pitched 126 and a third MLB innings with the Rangers over the past 4 seasons. And then I was taking a look at Roby. He's not having the best season. He is 2-3 with a 5.05 ERA in Double-A. But he was their 3rd round pick in 2020, still a young guy. He has a 4-pitch repertoire, swing and miss stuff. Definitely a different style of pitcher than the Cardinals typically go for. So that's encouraging.
That's what we need to see more in the organization, right? Like the pitch to contact methodology you've seen it now, especially with the shift gone, that it's
exactly.
It's kind of so it's good to get the swing and miss guys back in here.
It's behind the times for sure. And then you mentioned, we've got some of these infielder utility player types that the Cardinals always love. So when we're looking at Thomas Sagasi, he is another 2020 draft pick. And this season, he's hitting .314 in Double-A. He's a career .299 hitter in 3 minor league seasons. And Mo has referred to him directly as a Brendan Donovan type of player. And we love that. So...
Which, do we need to talk about the news about Brendan Donovan's season being over today?
Oh, man. Let's save that for the drama on the diamond. We'll get to it at the end. But yeah, that's another headline. You know what? I'm just glad, like, Jeff Jones scared me to death. I thought he was being traded for a hot moment. I would much rather, I'm sure it's frustrating as hell and really sad for him, but I would much rather know that we still have him than the alternative. So yeah. Overall, I think that trade was probably as well done as it possibly could have been. I honestly hope to see Jordan Montgomery in the playoffs, killing it, getting some more wins. Cause man, how many outings did he have with the Cardinals this season where he absolutely should have won the game, at least got a win. Such a solid. And a lot of times even got the loss. It was just ridiculous. So
it'd be like a 1-0 game, and he gave up 1 run, and just the offense couldn't offer anything for him.
Right. When the pitching was working, the offense wasn't. So if it's one thing that we know about the Rangers this season, it's that they are firing on all cylinders, which is why they are so successful. And he's going to be a part of that now. So the other big one that happens, I guess, a couple days ago over the weekend was the Blue Jays acquired our right-handed pitcher Jordan Hicks from the Cardinals. In return, we got right-handed pitcher Sem Robersa and Adam Kloffenstein. So Robersa was actually the Blue Jays' number 7 prospect. He was signed out of the Netherlands in 2019. And he's currently in Double A for this season with a 4.06 ERA and 86 strikeouts in 88 and 2/3 innings. So hopefully another good strikeout guy.
Love to see that.
Yeah. And Kloffenstein is a 3rd-round draft pick in 2018. He has posted a 3.24 ERA with Double A, 105 strikeouts in 89 innings this year. So again, something different. I think the big thing to recognize here is that like Mo is kind of putting his money where his mouth is and saying that we are going out and acquiring these guys who are different than the kind of guys that we typically acquire, definitely different than the type of guys that we develop. And that's going to be a good start in getting this team to head in the right direction sooner rather than later. So along with that, we also made another trade with the Blue Jays, which I think are going to be called like the Toronto Blue Cardinals now. Or they might as well be, because we also sent shortstop Paul DeYoung of Illinois State University, which is
fellow Illinois State University alum.
It's both of our alma maters. We sent Paul DeYoung to the Blue Jays. Paul DeYoung and some cash. We stuck some cash in his back pocket. We sent him up to Canada. And in return, we got right-handed pitcher Matt Swanson, who is assigned to Double A. From what I can tell, he is not a big swing and miss guy, and his velocity is not great either. So I need to learn more about Matt. But I don't know. The things that I saw around this were mostly just like, at least we got something for him, I guess. Yeah. But I kind of even thought that about when they traded Edmundo Sosa last season, that they were like, well, at least we got something for him. I'm like, what do you mean at least we got something? Like, he was valuable in his own way. And I mean, obviously so is Paul DeYoung, but I think what I'm really hoping for at this point is like a true Paul DeYoung renaissance. Would you?
I need a renaissance for that, man. I think that he did a really good job this season. God, it just killed me to see all the hate that he got on social media. And you know, like I totally get it. He wasn't performing up to the standards. But man, just to drag a player in your organization like that, I couldn't get behind all the people that were hating on him. But he's done amazing so far this year. You know, a little bit above league average for a shortstop. So, I mean, that's what you want to see. And I think the Blue Jays are going to love having him behind Bo Bichette, and I really hope they take care of him up there in Canada.
Yeah, very timely, because so Bo Bichette went down with an injury to his knee yesterday. I think it was just yesterday. And it turns out imaging done, came back well. So it doesn't seem like he should, you know, have a season-ending injury or anything like that, but certainly a bit of a stint on the injured list. And Paul DeYoung is going to slide right in there. I was also reading that even before the injury to Bo Bichette, that trade made a lot of sense for them, because they've been looking for a right-handed bat, and it just already kind of aligned. So yeah, wishing Paul DeYoung all the best wherever he goes, and we'll certainly miss him in St. Louis. It's just gonna be weird with some of these guys, including Jack Flaherty, who's been around for so long.
Yeah.
And just minutes before the end of the trade deadline, which, by the way, is how I knew it was going to happen. It was driving me insane like a week ago when everybody was like, pick up the phone, Mo. Why aren't you doing anything? What's going to happen? Like, wake up. I'm like, it is literally not going to happen until at least the last hour of the
gotta give credit to all the writers that are like doing this for a living, because my God, I can't imagine just all the comments that they're getting just hourly, every minute, the week before trade deadline. And I mean, I can't imagine being one of these guys making the actual deal, because there's so much more into it than we could ever imagine. So
that's a really good call out too. And I think that's why I don't like to speculate before the trade deadline. Like, I'd rather talk about it after it's done like this, because there is just so much to it that we couldn't possibly have all the information and be able to to really make the puzzle fit for ourselves the way that they have to. It's a very much like, if you're not in the shoes, you just only have a certain amount of information and a certain amount of insight. And that's even how it is now afterwards. But at least we can say, like, what's done is done. And what is done with Jack Flaherty is he was traded to the first place Baltimore Orioles for Drew Rom. I'm going to go with that. Again, pronunciation on these names, not sure yet, but we're going to learn them. Welcome over, guys. Zach Showalter and Cesar Prieto. And we've got two prospects who were ranked number 16, Prieto, and 18, Rom, the pitcher, in the Orioles system, according to MLB Pipeline. And again, this is just another move to kind of beef up their system with two players who are in the upper minors that could be, ready to go as soon as next season. I think that's the idea, right? Cesar Prieto has an 868 OPS and has only struck out 27 times in 85 games across AA and AAA with Baltimore. So another good infield guy to have in there. And what else do we got here? Rom has a 5.35 ERA and 100 strikeouts in 86 innings in AAA. So again, maybe working on that control, but high strikeouts, swing and miss, putting the pieces together. We love to see that. Thank you, Mo, I guess. I don't know. Like, a part of me saw this and was like, I don't know how to be excited about this when you're trading away Jack Flaherty, but I know it's smart. Like, I know it makes sense. And I know that even though we as Cardinals fans are holding on to those glory days of Jack Flaherty of 2019, that he is a back end rotation guy when it really comes down to it. And it pains me. I'm like cringing at myself as I'm saying that because I don't want to say it because I love him and I want more for him. And I'm still here for a Jack Flaherty renaissance, even if it's not with St. Louis.
Right before I got on this, I saw Katie Wu tweet, it was amazing to watch Jack Flaherty during the second half of the 2019 season. And, he just, like, his ERA was close to 0 at for the second half after the All-Star break. And I know it wasn't even though that NLDS game 5 in 2019, we won that game right before he even set foot on the mound, but he still pitched incredibly. He silenced that huge Atlanta Braves lineup that could have easily not bounced back from a 10-0 deficit, but he was on fire back then. And it's just too bad that he didn't live up to that hype. Even though, he was amazing that year.
Yeah. And it's hard. You see the two extremes with both him and Paul DeYoung of the people who have no empathy or understanding or time for if he's not in that form, get him off my team. And then the other side of us who are kind of but I remember and appreciate what he did and what he was able to do. And with something that's I think as performance-based, we work in performance-based industries. So we understand a little bit more every performance of a musical that you do is not going to be sheer perfection as much as I would like it to be. It's just not the way that it is. And every time you perform your songs live, every note is not going to come out exactly how you want it to. The circumstances surrounding it are always going to be different. And to some extent, only so much of that is in your control. There's a lot going on that contributes to the overall outcome and production. So maybe it's that the added empathy that some of us have, but also that when you see that glimpse of what they could be and what they were at one time, and you just want to hope that, it's going to make it back. But with athletes, like any performance-based industry, there's going to be ups and downs, and you never know when it's going to come back around and they're going to turn a corner. And there's also people who have a really hard time when that happens with other teams for players. But at this point, all we can do is wish them the best, right? Because we can't keep doing the same thing. It hasn't been working. That's insanity, right? So we got to do something different. And John Mozeliak has heard us. He's doing something different. So before we move on from all the Cardinals talk and hit some trades across the league. Wes, do you have a favorite Jordan Montgomery moment, a favorite J Money moment?
I think we both have the exact same Jordan Montgomery moment.
Yeah.
It was during Albert Pujols' race to 700, and we were at Wrigley last year. It was September, I believe, late August, September.
Yeah, late August, I think.
And Jordan Montgomery went 6-7 innings through, or no, it was a
complete game.
Complete game. He threw a complete game shutout, and the only run of the game was an Albert Pujols home run. I mean, like, how you can't write that stuff up. That is a defining Cardinals moment for Jordan Montgomery, and just the way he came in last year, and just like he just was the piece that we needed to get into the playoffs last year for sure.
Yeah, he made such an impact last season when he came in that it's hard to remember that he wasn't even here for a whole season because he just fit right in. So I totally agree. That was awesome to get to be there in person for that shutout that he threw at Wrigley Field. Yeah. Jordan Hicks, he's been with the organization for a long time and he's still so young. Do you have a favorite Jordan Hicks memory?
When I saw that you were going to ask me this, I was like, what is my favorite Jordan Hicks memory? Because he's another one that's been so up and down, like you search Jordan Hicks and you just see Jordan Hicks gives up the game-losing home run, and it's like, I don't want to remember Jordan Hicks this way. But I mean, just the first time you ever see 104, 105 on the gun, you're just like, oh my God, this guy is just spitting out fire. I think that's really got to be the defining moment of Jordan Hicks. Like, he's the first guy that's really consistently hitting these numbers. Like, it's incredible. So
I love being like sitting near an opposing fan base, or being like, since we live in Chicago, we go to a lot of games at Wrigley or guaranteed rate. So there will be a lot of the other fan base there that we're around. And I have loved them experiencing that for the first time. Because even like earlier this season, like he came in at Wrigley and really early on in the season, like the first series that they played at Wrigley. And yeah, just to listen to the guys behind me who, were just total like stats nerds and have everybody, in the Chicago system, like all of the information that you could ever want to know about them, for them to see a guy like Jordan Hicks for the first time and then be like, oh, but why is his ERA so high? Like, I don't know what's going on. So it starts, fun conversations, and he's an easy player to be excited about with his skill set. I also really love that he is very open and forthcoming with the fact that he has diabetes. He's an athlete living and performing with diabetes, and he's just a really good example for kids and really people of all ages that you can live with that, and you can manage it, and you can do whatever you want if you take care of yourself. And he does a lot of work with that as well. And so I think that's very cool. He's always been a very like positive figure in the organization, as well as Paul DeJong, who we kind of already talked about. We love him because he went to Illinois State University, but we also love him because like he volunteers in the community so much. And like on every off day, Paul DeJong is doing something amazing to give back. Do you have a favorite Paul DeJong moment?
When he hit a home run and broke the Big Mac land sign.
Yeah.
That is quintessential. Like, I mean, and he's still, even just a couple days ago, he was volunteering for the Ronald McDonald House.
Literally yesterday.
He auctioned off that M and raised money for charity for it. Like, just all around good guy. I mean, that year he was incredible. He was putting up incredible numbers, and but yeah, just fielding wise, like he's solid at shortstop. He's extremely solid. So just seeing him, he's not gonna give you those Nolan or Arenado like highlights or anything, but he's solid. He's got a good glove. So
yeah, you can always count on him on and off the field, clearly. Yeah. But yeah, he does it so like quietly and humbly, like all the work that he does off of the field. And I have mentioned this on this podcast before in defense of Paul DeJong, but he also is just he was pre-med at ISU. Like
he's chemistry med.
has a biochemistry degree. Yeah, like he's also already made a lot of money playing baseball. Like, he could easily walk away and go do anything that he wanted to do. But the fact that he's continued to show up and have so much grace through all of the challenges and all of the crap that he's gotten from the media and the fans is just a testament to the person that he is as well.
Another good moment was there was like a Twitter picture that the Cardinals sent out for spring training. This was back when Colton Wong was on the team. It was like Colton Wong and Paul DeYoung, somebody else, and they're like, Colton Wong is decked out, looking like this, you know, I'm making millions of dollars a year athlete.
Yeah.
And then Paul DeYoung walks in like he should just be like in a Wrangler's jeans commercial. And it was like he just seemed like the most down to earth. Like, he probably has spent, I don't know, like a fraction of the money that he's made playing baseball, because he just can't believe that he's even got that. Like, that's just
right.
that's the vibe that I get from him.
I agree.
We're big on vibes and peace, love, and baseball. So,
yeah. Okay, Jack Flaherty is the last one that we're gonna just revisit. I know we talked about his 2019 season, but do you have a specific Jack Flaherty moment?
That Game 5 of the 2019 NLDS, like, it could have gotten to him that he was 10 runs. You know, like, he had 10 runs behind him, and he could have, but he was just on. He was so on, held them to 0 runs, I think, during that outing, and I could be very wrong. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal. So, I mean, just whenever you see a great playoff performance, that's what you kind of want to see. So,
yeah, I think the thing that I like about him is actually the thing that some of the fan base can be very critical of, and that is that he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you know, he says what everyone is thinking but maybe not saying. So I've appreciated that about him over the years, and again, I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope that he finds the success that we know that he has untapped at times with the Cardinals, wherever he goes next, with another bird team for now.
So Derek Pitzer, our friend, made the comment, you know, we're only dealing with other bird teams, the Blue Jays, the Orioles. That's it. It's the Cardinals.
Well, the Rangers too, I guess.
Rangers, but like, let's just exclude that for this. Before we do move on to out of the Cardinals land, we have a live comment. It was a while ago. I didn't think you saw it, and I was trying to like add to it, but I couldn't connect my YouTube to it. So Forte 801, also known as Dean, as someone who barely pays attention to baseball, is the Cardinal season going as bad as Wes makes it seem on Twitter? The answer is yes.
That's a good question.
Not great, Bob. Not great. We are currently sitting at 47-60.
For someone who barely follows baseball, that might not mean a lot, but it's one of the worst records among all of the
Pitzer chimes in. Yes, it is. It is not great. Not great.
But the thing that I think maybe is a little overdramatic about it is, and we kind of mentioned this at the beginning, is that we're very much not used to it.
Right.
So maybe we're being a little bit more dramatic about it because of that. And it was also like not expected, to be fair.
Not expected at all. Here is our text thread is golden. Thanks, Pitzer. My forever optimism is thinking we're only 11 out of the wild card.
I know.
Don't. I know. We're only, let's see here. We're only 11 and a half games behind the Central. Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh are not used to playing like late into the season. They usually fall like late in the season. I don't know. It's just my optimism. It's me living through 2011, seeing anything is possible. So I know we're running short on time, but I just had to plug that in there. I will not give up on this season just yet until
I think that's a little
he is next to our name.
Man, we are running quickly out of time, so I'm just gonna run through these some of the highlights. I guess there's so many trades that happened, and obviously you can catch up on all of them on MLB.com and Twitter and all of the great writers that we mentioned earlier. But the Brewers did acquire first baseman Carlos Santana from the Pirates, as well as shortstop Johnny Severino. And they also, just in the last couple hours, acquired left-handed pitcher Andrew Chafin from the D-backs, who we saw just a week or so ago, for their right-handed pitcher, Peter Strzelecki. So do you think the Brewers got better with those trades?
You know, it's going to be, we'll find out.
Yeah. It wasn't like a huge, like
blockbuster trade.
like, whoa, yeah, for me, but could be sneaky there. We'll see. Obviously there's been a lot of talk about how the Angels decided to hold on to Shohei Ohtani and put the pedal to the metal and go for it, which, like, of course, I don't know. I knew they were going to do that the whole time, I guess, but they got Lucas Giolita. Again, I might be saying that wrong. And Ronaldo Lopez from the White Sox. And there was something else that the Angels did. What was it? There was something else. Oh, they got Randall Grichuk. They got Randall Grichuk and CJ Crone from the Rockies. So, and Randall Grichuk is already like hitting home runs and stuff for the Angels. So,
I mean, they're
who knows? Do you think this is the year for the Angels?
They're 3 back in the wild card. It would be extremely fun to see Ohtani in the postseason.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, that's the only reason I hope for it.
Yeah.
But, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I like Randall Grichuk too, and Mike Trout, obviously. I don't know. Kind of weird. It would be weird to see the Angels in the postseason because it's just so easy to write them off. But maybe that's not fair.
I think maybe if they're going all in on it this year, then we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so Rangers. We talked about the Rangers, how they got Jordan Montgomery. They also got some other people you might know. Max Scherzer from the Mets. And the Mets are paying out $35 million of Max Scherzer's remaining salary.
How do you feel about that, Kelsey?
Listen, I I don't want to get all worked up and like start my like evil witch cackling about Steve Cohen having to just like burn all of his money and throw all of his players away. But I definitely said it was going to happen like at the very beginning of the season. And I knew it. Like, I'm not surprised. And I'm not usually one of those people that's like, I was right. Tell me I was right. But like, I was right. and I'm happy to be right. And mostly because it's the whole principle of like, if I just spend more money than everybody else, there doesn't have to be any logic to it. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, I can just come in and be this inexperienced owner and not worry about bringing the right people around me and just pay everybody the most money and things will work out for me. And so when that doesn't happen, yeah, I do feel like that's a win for the people.
And chemistry.
The Mets they have received some really good prospects from the Rangers. They got Ronald Acuña's little brother, who was the Rangers' number 3 prospect, number 44 overall in Major League Baseball. He was assigned to Double-A for the Rangers. But anyway, they also got Scherzer to opt in 2024. I don't really know if that's going to be super helpful for them or anything, but we'll see. At least Steve Cohen got $22 million off of his plate, I guess. I saw some article out there. I got to find it again, but I saw an article out there that it might have been by Ken Rosenthal. I'm not sure. I need to find it and I'll put it in the show notes if I do. But it was explaining how like only Steve Cohen would be saving money by paying $35 million to someone else. So he also did that with Justin Verlander, their other $43 million guy who is back with the Astros. The Astros also got right-handed relief pitcher Kendall Graveman from the White Sox, as well as catcher Corey Lee, who is currently in Triple-A as part of that trade. And then, of course, Justin Verlander and cash from the Mets for their outfielders Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. What do you think about these teams that are picking up Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander? Like, are they going to help them?
They've got to with the Rangers are already, sitting well ahead they're above the Astros just by half a game. I think that you need veterans who have been in the postseason before, and that's what you're going to get with them.
True.
So I think that they want that final push to get there, and I think that's what they got. They know what they're getting when they get them.
That's true. The postseason experience is a very real thing. 2 other teams I want to mention that I do think got better and could be ones to watch for the rest of the season. The Dodgers got Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox. And who else? They got shortstop Ahmed Rosario from the Guardians in exchange for, they sent Noah Syndergaard to the Guardians, which I thought was kind of weird. But does seem like the Dodgers also got Kike Hernandez back from the Red Sox. It seemed like they made a lot of moves, made a lot of noise, and are ready to kind of put the gas on it. And I would assume they will at least be in that wild card conversation. If not, I just assume the Dodgers are going to win the division every year. And it seems like that could certainly be the case. And then the one I'm really excited about is shout out Skip Schumacher. The Marlins are going for it. The Marlins acquired third baseman Jake Berger from the White Sox for their left-handed pitcher, Jake Etter. And Berger, who is actually controllable through 2028, which is longer than you might think, because he was injured early on in his career. So he doesn't have as much major league experience, even though he is a little bit older. Anyway, he's like this huge power that the Marlins lineup really needs. He has 25 home runs this season, which is 9 more than any other hitter on the Marlins besides my guy, Jorge Soler. So he's not a huge hitter for average, but you have Luis Arias on your team, put some power behind him, and the Marlins are going to be good to go. Plus, Jake Etter was Miami's number 4 prospect. He has made his return from Tommy John surgery earlier this year. He strikes out 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. And that seems like it's going to be a good exchange there for both sides. But, for the Marlins for this season and for the White Sox moving forward, because obviously they're in an even worse position than the Cardinals in terms of just needing to kind of scratch it and start over. The Marlins also acquired right-handed pitcher David Robertson from the Mets, because the Mets are just like, here, take all my people, get rid of them.
I feel like the Mets had more of a fire sale than the Cardinals did.
And even honestly, like right up there with the White Sox. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, I feel like we didn't, everyone's saying like, oh, fire sale. But like, these are guys that like.
No, it was literally only the guys that we knew were going to go.
Right.
Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson, they're all still here.
Yeah.
They're all still here. They might not be in the offseason, but we will talk about that another time. So yeah, I think the team that I was like most excited for, I guess, through the trade deadline is the Marlins, because I do think they got better, and I think they put themselves in a situation to make a run for it. Any team that you specifically were like, yeah, you go.
The Rangers come out ahead to me, like in this. Like,
yeah.
They're getting a lot there, and I think that they're just gunning for it. Absolutely gunning for it.
I agree. They're going to be ones to watch as well.
Big Dave from the UK podcast has joined us now. Hey, Big Dave.
What's up, Big Dave? We love the UK. We are. Oh, it's so late for you over there. I'm surprised you're still up. I know the Cardinals game is starting, so if we're to like have that on in the background, totally fine. We're going to go for maybe like 10 more minutes. We've got some more stuff to cover here because we want to do our kind of check-in for the 2/3 mark of the season. We did an episode when we were at the third of the way point of the season and put up a little survey out and got some votes and some feedback from listeners to make some fun call outs. Cause like what fun are awards when they're only once a season? We like to do it 3 times a season. So we're going to check in with the official 2/3 mark of the MLB regular season from for the St. Louis Cardinals, but all other teams are going to fall roughly around the same as today being that 2/3 of the way point. And here are our summer awards that are based on your votes. The team that is staying hot in the summer is the Atlanta Braves. They are still sitting pretty atop their division. I think they have the largest lead
67-37. Yep.
Yeah, they have not been playing. I saw something the other day that was like, oh, the Braves are like 3 for their last 8 or something. And I was like, they're fine. They're fine.
So it's the Phillies and the Marlins who are 11 and 11.5 games back.
Yeah.
Right, so they're sitting fine. They're probably going to win the division.
Yeah, and then staying hot in the summer for a player, we have a dead tie between Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves. So that makes total sense.
I mean, the stats that I was looking up, like they're just incredible. Like everybody knows
blowing everyone out of the water.
I mean, Ohtani, like it's just like my favorite meme is like, oh, you see like these stats from him and the things that haven't been done since like 1908, and it's just like ridiculous. Like he's incredible. It's like we're watching history unfold.
Truly, yeah. And then we've got, we got to turn the page and talk about the disappointing teams and players as well. Disappointing during the dog days of summer. The Cardinals, by no stretch, were the highest voted team there. The Mets were a close second, I guess. But I think we also have we have a lot of Cardinal fan voters. So that's probably why they're like more disappointed by the Cardinals.
Also disappointed,
but yeah, this is actually interesting because I put out a poll a couple months ago, and I want to say it was a couple months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago. And I asked if people thought it was like worse to have an owner like the Cardinals have, who like won't spend on starting pitching or even pitching in general too, when there's like a very specific issue at hand, or to have an owner like the Mets who will like spend all the money in the world, but not have, maybe the common sense is not even the right word, but not have the experience and the right people around him to spend that money in a way that's going to set you up to succeed. And overwhelmingly, everybody was like, it's worse to have the Cardinals owner. There's a problem, a clear problem, and they should just pay to fix it. And I totally get that. And I talked about that and like broke it down a little bit a couple episodes back. But then today I was like, is it worse to be a Cardinals fan or a Mets fan today? And again, by far, everybody was like, it's way worse to be a Mets fan today.
Oh, for sure.
So I know those are two separate questions and two separate conversations, but they ultimately kind of come down to the same thing. And yeah, I think, would you rather be the Cardinals or the Mets this season?
I think absolutely the Cardinals. I mean, this is one time in the last 20 years that we have underperformed. Like, who else can say that?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I think, and I was going to say this as well, like, this is a huge testament to Yadier Molina, because just the way that the pitching has been handled so far, and we've already talked about the drama earlier in the season, but like, Yadi knew what was going on. He was a manager on the field. Like, to see this the year that Yadi is gone, like, in hindsight, shouldn't be surprising. But that's, to have one season in the last 20 years where we underperform, I would take that more than anything, for sure.
Yeah, it's easy to take for granted how lucky we are as Cardinals fans. And so I think that's another thing to just like put in perspective. And I'm sure that we'll continue to talk about throughout the rest of the season as we try to get through it together.
We've got Kim and Randy Bird on as well. Are they related to you at all?
Oh, no, must just be crazy fans who like changed their last name to my last name because they're obsessed with me. God, how weird. Anyway, disappointing during the dog days player is Jeff McNeil of the Mets, which is really interesting how like down of a season he's having, but when your team's not clicking, sometimes that's enough to throw you off. And then we did have a couple write-ins that were worth noting for the entire Cardinals pitching staff. So I don't know that, I think it's important to delineate that like disappointing during the deadline means like, or disappointing during the dog days is like, they were disappointing because we expected more from them. I don't think we hoped for more from the Cardinals pitching staff, but did we really expect more? I mean,
Jeff McNeil finished 15th in MVP voting last year, and he is like he's one win above replacement this season.
Wow.
Just batting 252, just a little bit above league average. So, I mean,
that's probably a step up from where he has been the majority of the first half of the season, I think, as well. Well, let's move on to our rookie of the summer, which I think is fair to say, at least for the NL, that Corbin Carroll is running away with that, and of the Diamondbacks can be expected to win that award. I hope to see a strong end of the season from him, and honestly the Diamondbacks at this point, because they're a fun kind of underdog to keep an eye on, to see in the postseason. And then our AL rookie of the summer is Josh Young of the Texas Rangers, again part of that Rangers team. So maybe he's this year's Jeremy Pena. You think?
We'll see. Time will tell.
We've got our Cy Young of the Summer awards going to Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks, tied with Spencer Strider of the Braves. Spencer Strider, I know, is not having like the season that he had last season, but still a really high strikeout guy.
Still 11-3 with a 3.73 ERA.
Yeah, I think any team would take that. So solid enough. Our AL Cy Young of the Summer is Shane McClanahan of the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, the Rays are still sneaky. I still forget about them, even though I shouldn't at this point.
It's easy to forget about them because they've been at the bottom of the barrel like for years now.
Yeah, so come on, Cardinals fans. Let's let the Rays just have a minute, okay?
But McClanahan's stats are very impressive. I mean, 11-1. with a 3 ERA. Like,
nice. Very solid.
solid,
Yeah,
solid.
there's certain the pitchers like that too. Like again, it's easy to point and say, oh, you know, guys are struggling with the pitch clock and the adjustments to the new rules or whatever, but these guys are all playing with the same rules. And these are guys who were in the league last year too. So it's not like they were playing with the pitch clock in AAA and came up and just had that like competitive advantage or whatever. So they're making it work. We've got our NL MVP, Ronald Acuna Jr., and our AL MVP so far, Shohei Ohtani. But I think it's safe to say that both of those guys are going to sail right into those awards as well. And they're just super fun to watch right now. So good picks by our listeners.
Yeah.
All right, Wes. Well, it is time to let's just touch on a little bit. We don't want to get too upset. We don't want to like throw hands or anything, but we're going to talk some drama on the diamond. We had the Cubs at the Cardinals this past weekend, and there was a situation. And there was a lot of talk about it. And I'm interested to talk to you about it because I think you and I have a little bit of a difference in opinion.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see. So basically what happened is in the first inning, Miles Mikolas is pitching to Wilson Contreras behind the plate. Ian Happ is up as the third batter in the game. And Ian Happ, his backswing hits Wilson Contreras in the head. Clearly an accident. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. But unfortunately, it was like really bad. And it gashed Wilson Contreras' head open. He obviously had to come out of the game. It was quite scary. Anytime anything like that happens to a player, it's scary and it sucks. Happ returns into the batter's box. The next pitch from Miles Mikolas is up and in. From my perspective, that pitch was very much like, I could throw at your head and hit you, but I did not. I don't think he missed. I think it was a warning pitch.
It was a warning for sure.
And then the second one, he threw directly at his hip and hit him to where it seemed like it was, very much intended to do so. Ian Happ did not bat an eye. He walked to first base, but the umpires convened and decided that that was very intentional from Mikolas, which I think was a fair assessment. Whether or not the ejection that then came from that was a fair, that can definitely be debated. But what was your initial reaction to that, Wes?
Obviously, I was very angry because it led to runs right after that. And I think that what should have happened was the umpires knew what was happening when Miles threw up and in. They should have issued warnings right away. Like they knew what was going on. The home plate umpire should have issued a warning right then and there. If he did, strike three would have been probably right down the middle, and we would have been in the next inning. Would have been fine. Should he have hit Miles Mikolas, or should Miles have hit Ian Happ? Who's to say? He did. It wasn't like he was beaming him. But in my opinion, just to get thrown out, like without any warning whatsoever is egregious. I mean, it just completely changed the rest of the game, like in the first inning.
Yeah, I agree that I did think that it was, I don't know if extreme is even the right word, but maybe not. It was surprising that he got ejected and that there weren't warnings issued after that first up and in pitch. Cause I totally agree. It was like obvious what was happening. There should have been warnings issued there. And I think you're right. The next pitch probably would have happened very differently, and we would have had a completely different outcome to the game, hopefully. But yeah, it absolutely, I mean, we lost the game right then and there when he got ejected. That's just how it happened. I very much call me soft. I just think that age of the game has come and gone, and it's done. And we shouldn't be throwing at players or putting them in any kind of danger. And especially like whether, again, it has nothing to do with like it being intentional or not for Happ to have hit Contreras. Like clearly it wasn't intentional. It maybe there needs to be some kind of penalty when that happens with the backswing. Like it's an automatic out or at least an automatic strike or something.
Yeah.
And that's like the retribution, like there is a penalty for it. But to put it for that whole like old school thing, and I'm usually very curmudgeon and very old school about that stuff, but he still threw a 96-mile-an-hour pitch at him. And I know he threw it in a way that like wasn't going to hurt him or whatever. And it needs to be an expectations that's like reset across the board so that it's like actually said, as opposed to just being like, you know, certain players having one opinion over the others. It needs to be established. Like there are penalties when these things happen. So you don't feel like you have to take it into your own hands. Cause yeah, it did. It ultimately cost us the game. And you can blame the umps, you can blame Ian Happ, you can blame Miles Michaelis. It doesn't really matter. Like it just sucked at the end of the day.
For sure. And like I said, it's just, you know, without the warning, if there was a warning involved, fine, great. Yeah, eject him. But like there wasn't a warning. So that's where my gears were really grinded. And we were playing the Cubs. So like
and we were playing the Cubs. So emotions were already high.
The tensions were already really high.
We kind of touched on this at the beginning as well about, you know, not being tempted by clickbait. But what did you think when you saw all of the Nolan Arenado to the Dodgers, or even yesterday night, I was seeing like Paul Goldschmidt on the trade block with like a San Francisco Giants hat superimposed on him. Like, what is your response when you see stuff like that?
The week before the trade deadline is the worst because there's so many rumors floating around. Nothing's official until it's official. I mean, sure, maybe something was talked about, but I think this goes back really to the organization and the way that they've handled PR this whole year. They've really, really failed on the PR front on several things, like huge. And just like the Nolan Arenado like trade thing, I think that was another thing they could have just said, this isn't happening. Like he doesn't have social media, so like it's not like he's going to be tweeting these things like we've seen other players tweet to stop rumors from happening.
Yeah.
But like I think that the PR, it was just awful to see. We're gonna get the clickbait. We're gonna get the things to get us to like react. I don't like to react to anything until like I see something, because deep down I didn't want Paul DeJong to get traded. I knew he was going to get traded, and I just was waiting for that to happen. But I mean, you know, these two are players that like you're building your franchise around, Nolan and Goldie. They're not going to be touched. So to even consider that, I mean, if they were considering it, maybe they were. But if they closed the door on that really quickly, then just tell us, you know, let us know real quick.
Yeah, it was weird though, even after they did, then like yesterday night, and maybe that's why they like didn't take it more seriously in terms of shutting it down, because they know even when they say things,
right,
that they're still going to be reported against it.
Right.
And I guess I don't necessarily feel as strongly about, like, I don't need the organization to come out and be like, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. But it just seems, like we're just perpetuating like the fake news cycle with all of that. And it's like, I, as a consumer of that, would rather read about things that are actually going to happen and like the strategy behind it, and like explain to me like why this trade would make sense for this trade, not why Paul Goldschmidt for something that's never going to happen. Like it's just a waste of time and energy. And maybe that's, and Big Dave is pointing out a really good point here, that it starts a debate.
That's right.
And that rumors are what drives everything. And even with all the stuff that has come out about, I'm sure some of you have seen what Max Scherzer came out and said, that his conversation with the Mets front office was that they are not planning to be competitive again until 2025, maybe 2026. And that is a big part of the reason why he waived his no trade clause and went for it. But even that is like hearsay, because it's not straight from the Mets front office. It's what Max Scherzer is saying the front office said. And who knows why the front office, maybe they did say that to him, but who knows why they said it to him. There's just like so much strategy and things again behind the scenes, that it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like we do not have all of the information to say like this equals this. And it's fun to speculate on it to some extent, but when it gets to the point where it's just like the LA Times is talking about Nolan Arenado becoming a Dodger as if it's basically done and it was never even on the table, like, come on, man. It's exhausting. Haven't we been through enough this season?
We just have to put on our earmuffs and get through that trade deadline week, unfortunately.
Well, the good news is we're here. We made it through, Wes. We are 2 hours past the trade deadline, and you know, the news is still rolling in, but like the pain, the daggers, the twists are are done, and now we've just got to stop the
Bleeding
bleeding.
out now.
So we'll wrap up. Yeah, we'll wrap up with setting some new expectations for our team for the rest of the season, because obviously we had hoped for one thing. There's a very different outcome. So what do you hope to see from the St. Louis Cardinals now through the end of the 2023 season?
I kind of already touched on it. I mean, we're only 10 games back. We were, it was August 25th in 2011 when we were 10 games back in the wild card. So
Still crossing everything.
that's where, I mean, you know how I can get. You know how I can get. But honestly, in reality, I think that could be reality, by the way, people.
I do too, even though I also know it's delusional. It's like the Jekyll and
But it's
Hyde.
always these years that we're like not expected to do well, that they actually just come in and sweep it out. Like it's
You're right.
so
They have given us hope too many times when we should not have had
exactly.
hope.
But I think that if we just, if the players that are supposed to be doing well continue to do well, like you continue to see Goldie and Nato like just have really good at bats and get to see them, defensively make the moves that they need to be making. I think that's really what we want to see, especially as they both get a little bit older as they head into next year. I think that we've got a good core of people. I think that the starting rotation just needs to, and the bullpen just needs to get, really strong. And I don't know if that happens this year. I think we'll probably see some improvements. Hopefully, we can only go up from here, really, honestly. So we want to see Jordan Walker improve, like Big Dave's saying. Like that's to see what he's already done this year and contributed. Like his plate discipline is incredible.
Yeah.
Especially for how young he is in his first season up. Like you don't see that very often in rookie players. Like you don't see the plate discipline.
Just the composure. Yeah.
Well, especially after he got called back up this last time. Like his discipline at the plate is just incredible for a rookie. So those are my expectations, is to keep seeing, people that should be performing the way they're performing continue to do so.
Yeah, we do have a listener question here that I want to address before I share my hopeful predictions, and that is from Derek Pitzer, who is asking us to speak on the report that Alec Burleson will be joining the starting rotation. I do want to say that's another report of fake news, Pitts, but I could be wrong. Anything could happen at this point. Jordan Montgomery is gone. Jack Flaherty is gone. But that kind of leads into the things that I'm hoping to see through the rest of the season is just better management of guys like Matthew Liberatore and Zach Thompson. They have been put in some really tricky situations, and their development has surely been, as Zach Thompson even more than Matthew Liberatore, has been like very stunted and confusing for them. I can only imagine, as it has been for us. So hopefully they will get some opportunities to figure some things out and find where their place is at, hopefully with the organization finding success. And then, I mean, wow, we haven't even talked about the biggest news in Major League Baseball today, and that it is Tommy Two Bags Tuesday. Tommy Edman is off the injured list. He's back in the lineup. He's playing right now, so we got to go watch him and cheer him on. I'm hoping he's back with a vengeance.
We are good. It is 0-0 in the top of the second.
And, Tyler O'Neill, I think, is going to play really well for the rest of the season. And I hope that they figure out a way to make him a part of the core too. But if he ends up being a trade piece, he might as well be a very valuable one. So, yeah, I agree. I hope that it is just fun to watch good players play good baseball, because as much as you hear them talking about like, well, the team should just lose as much as possible now or whatever, they've already made it clear that they don't really value those draft pick opportunities as much, because again, that's for like too far in the future, and they're not planning for that, especially when you have guys like Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. Of course you're not, because you have them, for another year or two,
right? And
you absolutely have to make the most of it. And obviously the fan base is not going to be down for anything else either. So we keep it all in check. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up for today, because there's still so much more baseball to consume with the Cardinals playing the Twins right now tonight. And go catch up on Twitter for all the latest trade updates. I'm sure there's been a ton that's happened even in the last hour that we've been chatting. But thanks for joining us. And Wes, a big thanks to you for joining me today as we revisit a season that has just not been what we expected, but we love baseball just the same, and we're
Still
going to
watching every
enjoy
game.
it together. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week on Peace, Love, and Baseball. Peace.